What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. I'm so glad you guys decided to tune in for this one because in this episode, I'm going to be talking about 3 crops I've never been able to grow and 5 crops this year that really surprised me. We're putting this all into one video because I like to balance some positivity with some negativity because, not everything is always rainbows and roses, and not everything is always terrible. And I think oftentimes gardeners can think their garden is either one or the other, and it's truly not. And I think it's also just kind of balancing the reality versus expectations. I think going into gardening, a lot of times gardeners expect everything to be rainbows and roses, and then everything doesn't really happen the way they expected. And then they tell everyone that their garden was a complete failure, when in reality it really wasn't. And so I'm just gonna put both of them together to really show you kind of just that we can both have kind of bipolar results in our garden. So we're gonna start out with the bad so we can end on a good note, because things do happen that we don't really like when it comes to our garden. There can be unexpected things that can happen. So the first one is one that you guys know I've always had an issue with, and that is cauliflower. Cauliflower is a crop that I don't have one to show you because I didn't grow one this year. I keep trying to grow cauliflower, and eventually I've kind of just come to the conclusion I'm just going to grow things that do well. And I've kind of chalked it up to the fact that I can get it to grow. The problem is the pests in our area and our climate is not really favorable for growing cauliflower. It just isn't. When it forms a head, it gets all brown and all misshapen and moldy, and it gets pests that come in and eat it. And I've tried tying up the leaves. I've tried doing everything. I've talked to so many farmers in our area, and what's kind of confirmed my suspicions that it's like the region is that even they say that they have years where they don't get any cauliflower at all. Now, obviously they do some stuff right, but they'll grow with like hybrids. They'll use a lot of chemical sprays to keep the pests off, so they're not growing organically. So I've kind of just come to the conclusion that organic cauliflower grown from heirloom seeds in this area pretty much is not going to happen. So that's one that I've just kind of stopped growing because I can't grow it. The next one that I know that you guys probably are aware of that I've not been able to grow ever is cantaloupe. Now, not because I can't grow it, but because I have the worst luck. I swear to you, I'm not making this up. I've had a cantaloupe, and you can watch videos in the past. We've had beautiful cantaloupes that are just barely ready to pick. And all of a sudden, I come out the next morning, and an animal has just ravaged them. Cantaloupes in this area, for whatever reason, whether it's up at our cottage garden or here, they are just the only thing that a bird will poke a hole through, or a squirrel will chew through, or a mouse will hollow out the inside and just leave the outer husk. You'll think, it's ready to harvest. You pick it up and it's like a half a pound because it's just the shell on the outside. Everything else has been eaten. And I'm not even joking you. I have the worst luck with cantaloupes. I've tried 6 years in a row. I've gotten cantaloupes to near full maturity where I've actually picked them, thought they were ripe, because I wanted to pick them, before an animal got them. So I picked them, brought it inside, and they were still like really just super hard and not great. And I probably could have left them on had I known they were not ready yet, I could have left them on the counter and they probably would have ripened up from there. But, I thought they were ripe. So I've cut them prematurely and I've just ruined them right there, because then they won't really ripen up once you cut them. And so time and time again, I've tried growing cantaloupe and I just have failed. Now, will this deter me from trying in the future? No, it won't. I can tell you that for a fact. In fact, the one cantaloupe we had growing, it got eaten. I was eyeing it up. It was turning beautiful. And just about a week ago, I came out to look at it, check on it, just like I've been doing with the rest of the garden, because we're kind of in peak pest season right now as animals kind of get hungry as the season winds down. I like to check on my stuff on a daily basis, and yep, it had been eaten. So, we're going to have to do something different, but that is one crop that I've not been able to grow for the life of me. And then the third crop that I've not been able to grow at all is kind of an interesting one, but it's one that I've really wanted to try growing for a long time, and that's ginger. I've tried ginger so many times, and I think it's just the climate. I know a lot of people have had success with it and stuff like that, but my type of gardening is not very labor intensive. If something's going to take a ton of effort, I might as well just go to the store and buy it organically because we've got a good organic market nearby, and I can just buy it locally. That's grown. Yes, it's imported. I get that, but it's organic and it's great quality, and it doesn't take a lot of effort, and I can focus my effort on growing other things. But when it comes to growing ginger, ginger is just so difficult to grow here because you need a super long season. I've planted it numerous times. It'll sprout up, it'll form its, the stalks, but I don't really get any growth on it. I'll literally harvest it at the end of the season and it'll be just as big as it was the first time, when I first planted it. So it didn't really grow any. And if anything, insects have started kind of poking holes in it and kind of eating away at the mother root. And it didn't really grow any like pups or like baby runner roots there for us to harvest and eat. So therefore, I've just kind of wasted money at that point. So I've kind of just stopped trying to grow ginger altogether. And those are the 3 crops that I just literally have never had luck with. A lot of you guys have asked me about crops that I can't grow or that I've not been able to grow successfully, and those are really the only 3. All right, so now that you've heard the bad, I want to fill in the rest of this video with the good, because this year has actually been a surprisingly impressive year for a lot of crops. Sometimes, when the season starts out bad, it has a hard time getting better because you already started out on a bad foot and things kind of just, they're always lagging behind. They might be stressed, they might be dead because they died in the beginning. But you rarely have a season that starts out as wet and as cold as ours did that ends so incredibly well as ours has. So the first thing that's done so well has been our tomatoes. Our tomatoes have just produced and produced and produced. It is truly remarkable. I have never had a season like this where I've gotten as many tomatoes as I did from this year's garden. I mean, our tomatoes are beautiful. We're still getting tomatoes. They're starting to wind down. The heat and the humidity has taken its toll on our tomato plants, but we are still getting just beautiful amounts of tomatoes from quite literally all of our plants. So the next crop that has just done absolutely amazing for us this year that really caught us off guard was our peppers. Now, usually we get an okay harvest of peppers every year. We've never really had a bad year for peppers, but this year in particular, with it being so cold and so wet, we didn't really expect it to be as good as it was. Our pepper plants have been absolutely loaded down. Most of our pepper plants here we've already picked from twice. They're already starting to produce their 3rd flush, which will be ripe by hopefully the end of September, early October, hopefully. Just before our first frost starts to threaten, we're hoping to get our 3rd harvest off these plants, which will be the biggest harvest. So the 3rd crop that we've grown this year that has just completely caught us off guard has been our watermelons. We've gotten 2 beautiful sized watermelons here. We have a Charleston Gray that I think is going to ripen up a little bit, well, quite a lot undersized from where it should be. And then we have a striped Klondike Blue Ribbon melon, which is huge for Michigan and for, even its size. This is pushing about 10 to 15 pounds here, this melon here. And in Michigan, with the short growing season we have, usually we just grow watermelons just for the heck of it. Just for kicks and giggles, we'll grow one because they're just fun to watch grow. I mean, they're such a huge melon. They're so beautiful. The greenery that they produce is wonderful as well. And if you get a melon, that's kind of just a plus. But usually you don't get melons this large. We have to grow small, personal size melons like a Crimson Sweet or a Sugar Baby, small, 1 to 4 pound melons. This, on the other hand, is an absolutely monolithic melon. So for us to get this year, and I definitely think this is going to ripen up in time for us to get a harvest off of this. These are absolutely huge. Even this Charleston Gray is easily about 6 pounds. So for us to have even anything over a 6 pound melon this year was completely unexpected. On top of that, it's been so cold and so wet. Well, the spring was so cold and so wet that watermelons need nice warm temperatures. They need long warm nights to do well. And this season has been very mild and pretty wet overall. Usually humidity kind of takes its toll on foliage. It's been super humid. It really has not taken its toll on foliage like it usually does. It's been just a strange year where plants that usually are slightly underperforming in mild and wet seasons have done exceptionally well this year. And then the 4th crop has been artichokes. So it's right next door here to the watermelon. The artichokes have just done exceptionally well as well. The artichokes, we've gotten our first harvest of artichokes ever. We've never grown artichokes to full maturity before. They've usually just put on foliage, and then we hope they come back in the spring, and usually the cold weather kills them off. But these artichokes here, we started extra early indoors, moved them outside, and we've actually gotten, I think, 6 artichokes so far, and there's 3 more that are gonna be ready to harvest. There's gonna be 9 artichokes in 1 year from a single plant. Just blows my mind. Again, another crop that usually, just like the rest of them, needs warm weather, long growing seasons, not a lot of rain so it doesn't get blight and powdery mildew all over the leaves. Does exceptionally well. I just cannot explain it. It's such a kooky year for growing, but I'm not complaining because we're getting a lot of cool things this year that we don't normally get. And the 5th and final crop that has really surprised us this year has been our zucchini. Now this should come as no surprise to you. We've talked about this so many times this year that our zucchini, for whatever reason, is producing way more than it normally does. This single Black Beauty zucchini plant, this is a single plant back here, taking up a full, easily 6 square feet, maybe more. This thing is monolithic. This thing has stayed alive and kept producing, putting out side shoots, which then root, produce all new like little mini zucchini plants that then they produce as well. This single plant has produced a whopping 52 zucchinis. 52. You guys, I cannot even put that into perspective because they're not all here in front of me at once. But if each one of those zucchinis weighed an average of maybe about a pound, we're talking 52 pounds of vegetables from a single plant. I can't even express to you how incredible that is. We've been counting ever since the very beginning because it was incredible from the very beginning how many we were harvesting. I said, this is going to be one for the record books, and it has been. This thing is still growing, and yes, it's starting to finally kind of give up the ghost a little bit, but it's still got some fruit on it that we're going to be harvesting. I mean, I still see flowers. So I imagine this plant will still give up probably another 4 to 7 zucchini before it finally gives up. So I'm blown away this year with zucchini. So all in all, it's been an absolutely incredible growing season so far, and I cannot wait to see what the remainder of the growing season holds. I mean, we still have so much time left. We still have about 2 months left in our growing season where we can grow stuff. So we're gonna be planting a bunch more beds out and getting our fall and late, early winter, late fall crops in, and we're just gonna be doing a lot more planting and getting stuff growing. But so far, as things are kind of winding down in terms of the summer garden, I'm really impressed, and I cannot be happier with how things have gone. And I think the biggest take home and the biggest learning experience for me, because yes, I'm always learning stuff too, is that you cannot rule anything out. You really cannot rule anything out. It's just fun to experience new things in the garden. And if we just grow the same old because it's always been reliable, you might have a year where that same old does what happened to us with our potatoes, and it's just totally not a great year. Or you might have a year like our watermelons, where you said, I'm not even going to try growing watermelons. They're impossible to grow. I'm never going to grow them again. And that might have been the one year that allowed you to grow a beautiful 15, 20 pound watermelon. You just never know. And so don't rule anything out. Try growing a bunch of different stuff and just keep your mind open to the possibilities, and trust in your abilities as a gardener, and just allow the garden to be a fun thing for you, because that makes gardening so much more fun when you're not so focused on just success, but you're focused on the experience as a whole, and what you can kind of just enjoy from what's given to us as gardeners. So, all right, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. Let me know in the comments box below some crops that are doing great for you and some crops that aren't doing so great for you, and we'll just chime in as a community. All right, take care, grow big or go home. We'll talk to you all tomorrow. See ya.